When I say I fucking hate LinkedIn recruiters, I fucking hate them! We'll post this long-ass paragraph then being like, DMs are open, I want someone that really wants it. What the hell I gotta prove to you to show you that I actually want it? I've been looking for a job for 16 months!
Okay, and submit. Thank you for submitting your application. Unfortunately, we regret to inform you that we will be moving forward with other candidates at this time.
What does this have to do with Olive Garden? I'm applying for Olive Garden. Not me.
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amaya and welcome back to Amaya's Unsolicited Opinions. Today's video will be for anybody that's struggling to find a job, being ghosted by hiring managers, not being hired because they're Gen Z, etc. etc.
Like, make that make sense. And make the sense make that. Because it don't make none. You get what I'm saying?
I will be separating today's video into, the job market specifically. It's not fit for Gen Z, period. The second topic of today's video will be the hiring process and how it's now normalized for hiring managers to not show up late to interviews or ghost candidates that they want to hire but don't want to hire for real in those job listings.
So we are about 15 minutes past the interview time and the recruiter has not shown up. I feel like this is a recent trend in job hunting. I really don't understand it. I am a serious job hunter. Everyone needs to work, right? But just completely not showing up is crazy. Like, if we were to do that as job seekers, we would be blacklisted.
The last topic of today's video will be the stereotype that Gen Z's lazy, even though Gen Z has inherited the worst economy possible.
40% of companies admitted to posting a ghost job within the previous year. So we need some advice. Why on earth is this happening and what should people do?
Man, there are so many reasons why ghost jobs have been sneaking up. For one thing, it makes companies look good. If they're hiring, it means they're making money. Another reason is that it's a good way to snoop on competitors. What better way to get that intel than to be interviewing people who work for your competitors? But not all the reasons are so malicious. Sometimes companies are just preparing for roles that they will have in the future. So it's not all evil, but it definitely is a problem for job seekers.
Starting off strong, a key part into why I feel like the job market is stacked against Gen Z right now is because there's so many baby boomers and millennials that are still actively working because they cannot retire.
Baby boomers report that they are not going to retire. They actually want to go to work. They enjoy being there in a physical location, unlike others who would love to work remote. And that's why you're going to see it being more difficult for Gen X and millennials to move up within the organization, because you can't move up if baby boomers are at the top and they're not moving out.
We don't touch anyone's retirement or anyone who's been promised in, but we go to people like my kids in their 20s when they're coming into the system and we say the rules have changed. We change retirement age to reflect life expectancy.
What's the right age there then, Ambassador?
We've got to figure out what it is, but what we do know is 65 is way too low.
You are not going to get millennials, especially Gen Zers, to work till they're 70 years old. There's no incentive anymore. At least 30 years ago, the incentive was you could work 40 hours for 40 years, afford a home, afford a living, have retirement, and have hope. You took those incentives away from the younger generations. You want them to work 40 hours a week for 50 years without being able to buy a home, with living paycheck to paycheck, working 40 hours?
They sit up and call Gen Z lazy. They sit up and make excuses and talk about how back in their day, stuff used to be so cheap. But they don't talk about the reason why you're sitting up at a job working with me is because of the economy that you voted for. Because as we learned from this last election, a lot of old people still have these conservative beliefs where everybody believes that they're going to be rich and in the future they're going to need a tax break. Baby, you're not going to be rich. You can't even, you're old. You're 70 working with me. And nobody's talking about the fact that every job that I work with old people, they've sat up and talked to managers extremely disrespectfully. Basically, we're just allowed to have any type of attitude just because of their age.
I know that violence is not the answer, but yes, it is.
But when somebody like a Gen Z would do it, the manager would immediately be offended. The manager would be like, people in Gen Z are just so entitled. Like, you let this person talk to you crazy all the time, but you do something that's disrespectful, or you try to overstep boundaries with me, and I clock you and address you, and now all of a sudden Gen Z is disrespectful. Like, whoa, let's get disrespectful. You haven't met disrespectful yet. Another thing, the experience requirements don't make any sense.
Well, your resume looks fantastic. You appear to be educated in everything that you would need for this job. Thank you. Yeah. However, typically we only hire with at least 4 years experience in this position. Oh, I must be in the wrong interview. I'm sorry. I'm applying for an entry-level position, so let me just get out of here. Oh, no. You're in the right place. It's just we typically only hire people with a little bit more experience in this field. But it's entry-level. Entry-level with experience. Well, how am I supposed to get experience if the entry-level job requires experience? You could do an internship. Paid? An experience. Okay, so let me get this straight, right? I just spent 4 years and $100,000 going to college to get experience for this job, but in order to get this job, I need experience in this job, and the only way to get experience in this job is to get experience in this job by taking an unpaid internship learning how to do this job, right? Well, you don't really learn until you're on the job anyway. Well, then what was the point of college if I won't learn anything until I'm on the job that you won't hire me for because I don't have experience in the job that you will teach me how to do when I'm on the job? Yes, well, you see, oh, sorry.
You know, they'll say you need 3 to 5 years, a bachelor's degree, this and that, a master's degree. You need a PhD to work at McDonald's. All of that. Somebody could have all of that in a bag of chips. They still won't hire you. You could have had the highest position to have in America, and if you don't have the connections, and if you don't have the network, and if you don't have something yourself that you have built up, they're not going to hire you, because what they're doing is they're putting in these ghost listings, these job listings, to make people who are working for these companies, scared that, oh, my job is at risk, but you are less willing to quit your job. Like, I always found that so weird, especially at my job, where there's always a hiring sign, but the only people that are being hired are my manager's family. Now, getting into the hiring process.
A Gen Z job seeker refused to do 90-minute tasks because it looked like a lot of work.
What a misleading article title, but I agree. There is no way on earth I would ever do a 90-minute task for a literal job application when you don't even know if you're in the running yet. I also just feel like the amount of hoops a company makes you jump through before you've even gotten a job interview is like a crazy good foreshadowing of what your experience at the company is going to be like. Like, dude, we're already applying to hundreds of jobs a week where like 95% of them are just ghost jobs, so it's going nowhere anyways. And now they have the audacity to ask us to also do 90 minutes of free labor for them before they even consider us for the role. I'm a Gen Z who mostly does freelance work now, and it's because I literally gave up on the job application process years ago. Because applying for jobs themselves has become a full-time job, and I got burnout from it. Like, if it's not a ghost job where you're just never going to hear from them because the job wasn't real to begin with, it's jobs like this that ask you to do like a weird amount of work to then also ghost you.
The hiring process is ghetto. As somebody that at a time, I never really needed a job. I go to college. My college is paid off. I live with my parents. I never necessarily needed a job yet, but I like to shop. I'm a girly that likes to shop. I'm a girly that likes to go places, and I'm not asking I just can't ask people for money all the time. So there was a time where, I was in college, I was bored, I needed a job. I want to work. I didn't have YouTube at the time. I wasn't a YouTuber, so I really wasn't busy like that. So I was just applying to jobs. And I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I'm a serial quitter. Any job that I've had a problem with, walked out. Never seen again. Blocked the store number, blocked employees' numbers. You wouldn't be not talking to me after that. And usually I've worked at that place for like months and months and months and allowed disrespect. And then, eventually something snapped and I just remember I had free will and walked out. So, maybe they know I'm a serial leaver.
So can you describe a typical day in the life of somebody in this role? You're gonna need to be able to dedicate a lot of your free time to this job. What personality trait do you think someone in this role needs to have? You're gonna want to be an overachiever. You gotta strive for. Can you tell me a little bit about the people that I'll be working with on a day-to-day? The team is like a family. You'll fit.
I don't really care. Kim, where are you going? Kim?
Periods like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months where, you know, I was applying to jobs that I was completely qualified for. And in the hiring process, I would go on Zoom meetings and different meetings, and the hiring managers would be 30 minutes late. Like, what the fuck? Why are you late to my interview? Or I do the interview, they say everything is perfect, you're the perfect candidate, and then ghost you right after. And then 3 months later, if you found a job or not, 3 months later, they'll send you a letter saying, we regret to inform you that you did not get this position. Really? I would have never known. Like, wow. Thanks for informing me 3 months later. 3 months later. And obviously, you know, certain factors vary. You know, my boyfriend is white, and his process, his hiring experience has been, you know, 10 times completely different than me. Like, he'll apply to jobs in a week, and then the next week, like, he has a bunch of interviews. You know, I don't go through that same experience, unfortunately. Now, the last topic to touch on is obviously the fact that, you know, since society is currently being controlled by the oldest generation, as it always has been, they've been heavily pushing on, you know, the stereotype of Gen Z being lazy, and, you know, purposely discriminating when looking at resumes and hiring certain people.
Just won't hire Gen Z employees.
No, we don't. It's been a nightmare with 95% of the ones that we have hired. I once terminated an employee, and her father called me 24 hours later asking how he could help get his daughter's job back.
And that right there is the problem with Gen Z in the workforce. Not because a dad and mom are calling trying to get their kid's job back, because why wouldn't you? Boomers are convinced that Gen Z is lazy, so they don't want to hire them anymore.
65% of employers say they have fired a Gen Z employee, and 50% of them say they've fired them real recently.
A huge reason that Gen Z feels like they can't get ahead in life is because no one is hiring them. They can't find jobs anywhere because boomers and hiring managers, nearly 80% of hiring managers said they're worried about Gen Z's lack of experience. 58%, which is huge, think that they have a bad attitude. Boomers not realizing that they're the ones that are causing Gen Z not to have the jobs and income they want because they're not hiring them. They're blaming it on something completely different.
Absolutely, and one of the reasons is social media. It's hard to do your job and work if you're on Instagram all day.
I've seen online from hiring managers and different people within that process is that many companies will do that to the side because Gen Z, you know, values a work-life balance more and will address being disrespected when working. And obviously, you know, as somebody that's Gen Z, I do that. I mean, I have a job now. Once my manager and people at my job are getting disrespectful, I address that disrespect because at the end of the day, I'm a human being. I'm not a slave. I'm not your slave.
I'm not some slave of yours, boy. What you mean I can't ask my lawyer a question? That's the dumbest. Are you crazy? You just told me I can't ask my lawyer a question.
You don't get to talk to me any type of way. And I feel like that's what they don't like about Gen Z. But you should talk to humans with respect. And that's what I noticed from a lot of these like older baby boomers who are managers. Like they feel like they can just disrespect you and you just say, okay, because I work here, I need to work. Like, no, I can't work in an environment where I'm being disrespected or my time is not being valued or you're not treating me like a human being. Like, girl, bye. I'm very tired of that stereotype. And you know, this issue where they say Gen Z will just be taking days off and speaks in Gen Z slang, it doesn't know how to be professional. Baby, I know how to code switch quicker than the flash when I get into professional settings. Quicker than the flash when I get to an interview. They say, oh my God, I love how articulate you are. I love how well informed you are before the interview. Because I remember I had an interview for Chanel Beauty in Chicago and I wanted to work there, and I'm a fashion major, so I know the ins and outs of Chanel, period. And you know, the interview was supposed to be a regular interview. That's what I thought I was going to. You know, I worked at Ulta, so I thought it was going to be a regular interview. Why is this lady asking me, oh, so do you wear your hair like that all the time? Oh, so like just asking a bunch of invasive questions that, you know, just made me know like I'm not getting hired because I'm black, period. Because you're asking me weird questions like, oh, so is that how you do your makeup? Like, do your lips just look like that? What do you think? I'm black. Yes, my lips are big. That's how they look. Now what? You know, and I was still holding my composure and being professional, even though I was aware that I was actively being discriminated against. But somebody would sit up and, you know, some old person would have sit up and sum up Gen Z into lazy and unprofessional. But that was it for this video. If you liked it, like, comment, and subscribe. Follow my other channel, and have a beautiful day.
But she don't love me, she too scary.